All right, so we've given a brief definition of intimacy. We've looked at the 5 different kinds of intimacy. Now we look at the 5 stages of a typical relationship. We're going to break them down to 5 typical stages so that we can have a closer look at it and see the patterns that happen of where they go right or where they go wrong, so we can empower ourselves from that. So I've broken it down into 5 stages. The first stage being what I call the cocaine stage. Now the cocaine stage is basically also known and referred to as the honeymoon stage. The honeymoon stage is basically it's that dopamine infused, delirious, it's intoxicating, where we are just completely aware of all what's right with our partner, and we just shut down anything that could be potentially wrong with them. It is a roller coaster ride of note. It is intoxicating. It's a magnificent thing to be in. You could be drunk and delirium, and however, it tapers off. It doesn't last forever. So basically, a lot of people mistake this cocaine phase with true love, because that's what we're being told on every blockbuster romantic movie, that this is the real love, and it's actually not. It's a part of it, but it's not the bigger part of it. It's there's so much more to it. So it's important to remember that it is temporary, and it's not the complete reflection of what love and intimacy is. It can be probably the majority of it is the lust phase and not the love phase, and it's important to remember that. That doesn't make it bad, that doesn't make it evil or to be avoided or to be suppressed. It's a beautiful part, but we enter into it with awareness, knowing that there's much more. So now what I'm going to do, I'm lucky enough to have combined and married my 2 passions of empowerment, upliftment, coaching, speaking with music. I've been a musician for many years, and I have a looping pedal that I'm going to introduce you to now, and this is brilliant because it allows us to music is a magnificent medium because we remember so much better with it. So this will be able to be a medium for to help you retain and to recall. So we're going to symbolize each stage of your typical intimate relationship with a loop, a live recorded loop. So let's get cracking. The first stage is the cocaine phase. That's a little bit loud. So we're going to record a short little loop of sound, and that is symbolic of the first phase in a relationship. Turnaround is good, and we'll cut that right there. We can start and stop at any time we like. This is how I coach. Cool. Phase 1 down, the cocaine stage. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 is the convert stage. This is now where that cocaine euphoria has simmered down. This is the part where we see the other side of our partner, and not just the side that is filtered. So what happens here is then we start to suddenly realize, hold on a second, our partner isn't now fulfilling us in the way that they should be, and that the way they were, even though it was our filters that were not really theirs. So we then start to manipulate, because we want to change them. We then think we need to convert them. And it's not always that they have changed, although they'll be going through a similar process to you. It is in fact that we are changing, and we are now, suddenly those filters are being removed, and we start to see a bigger picture, a fuller picture. The thing is, though, the old dopamines and the oxytocins and all of those are fairly addictive. So we always want to get back to that state because it's a pleasurable state. It's a euphoric state, but it's not. However, those states can be revisited at any stage you want to. It's not a permanent state of being, and that is important. There's more to it than just that. So, number 2 is the convert stage, where we try and manipulate, we try and change our partner to fit the expectation that we have of them, which is not them being their true self. All right, let's put that down as a loop. Okay, so let's record stage 2, which is the convert stage. Let's trigger what we recorded first, which is symbolic of the first stage, the cocaine stage that we're listening to now. And we're going to overdub onto that, the convert stage, stage 2. Okay, so we have number 2 down, the convert stage. Let's move over to stage 3. Stage 3 now is where our partners then say, hang on a second, and then they start to, there's resistance to this change. It's like, don't change me, you sort out your own shit. So it starts to build conflict. So there's a resistance, and we start to rebel against our free will of like, hang on a second, you can't manipulate me into being what you think I should be. So naturally there is conflict there, and there's conflict of interest, and often this starts to rub up, and sometimes you're just left with resentment. Other times it just escalates into a full-blown passionate fight and a big argument. And this is the stage where a lot of relationships, then it ends, they break up and they start again, because they think that that cocaine phase in the beginning is real love, whereas actually real love is what takes over after that lust phase. Now what happens is the fights and everything shouldn't be seen as a conflict, but actually a symptom, a sign to lead us to something else. We'll get to that in the next phase. So basically this phase being the conflict, it's when we suddenly resentment builds up, and it often results in a fight, in conflict, and sometimes breaking up, most commonly so. All right, let's display that as a loop. All right, so we're recording stage 3, which is conflict. So there's cocaine in the convert. Let's put down the conflict. And we'll cut that right there. Moving on to number 4. Now stage 4 is where the couples realize, okay, hang on, and now they're consciously aware of what's going on, and they start seeing the result and the conflict and all of that as the symptom that, hang on, something needs to shift here. So, and they decide to commit. So stage 4 is the commit, where the couples think, no, hang on, there's something special going on here. It's worth fighting over. It's worth fighting for. And they decide to say, let's try and heal our perceptions around what we think of each other, of the expectations we have each other. Let's see what I can do for me and what I can do for you. This is a big part, because now this is not a lot of relationships go there. In fact, very few. So this is an integral part, and the couples that do this are, I feel, are going to be hugely rewarded for it, because you're entering into a stage of growth. You know, you're entering into an expansion. you were willing to say, hang on, certain things, certain of my perceptions are now outdated and old, and I need to update. Cool. So that is the commit part, where the couples decide, you know what, to hell with it. There's a bigger thing going on here. There's still love. I want to explore what's beyond this. So let's record. Stage 4, the commit stage. The commitments. Okay, so let's record the loop for stage 4, which is the commit stage. Do you see how our relationship is growing here? It's very layered. It's just like these loops are being layered as well. Now, those that commit and can work on through will eventually then get to a stage, the co-independence stage. Now, most relationships are codependent, which means they are dependent on each other. Okay? There's no level of independence that they are celebrating. So if you could move from that codependent, because you are dependent on each other, I need you to make me feel lovable, so that I can feel that like I'm loved. It's rather, hang on a second, let us move to the higher spiritual phase of intimacy, which I will elaborate on as we go. What's typical of the intimacy of this co-independence stage is that the couples are then are moving from a conditional love to an unconditional love, where there's a deeper understanding, there's kinder conversations, and everything there is an opportunity for growth and contribution. And I think the percentage of marriages that reach this phase are probably single figures. It's not very common at all, but it's possible, and I think everyone deserves to reach that stage, or at least get a glimpse of it in this lifetime so that you can do it the next. I believe that any relationship is salvageable. I reckon any relationship can reach this phase. I don't see it as a coincidence that lovers were ever brought together. Okay? I just see it's our lack of alignment with the true intrinsic love that we know deep down, as opposed to what we've been conditioned to. I believe that every relationship can reach this stage. I believe every relationship deserves this stage, and I believe any relationship, no matter how messed up it's got, if it's really in the baddest conflict stage that there is, there can be a breakthrough, and there can be to the other side, because I don't believe it was a coincidence that brought them together. There was an attraction, there was a commonality, and there is a potential for the larger growth. That's exciting, man. That's really cool to know that every relationship, every single one, is divine in its way, and there is a way to reach a much higher plane of love, and it's about reaching that place within you, which is that intrinsic, real love, the love that we were born with, not the one that we've been taught from media and by movies. And discovering that and celebrating that, and then coming to that bigger place of intimacy, because it's on a much bigger scale and on much wider levels. And I think that is a cocaine stage all in itself. We flip full cycle. Brilliant. But first, let's do a little recap. So, to recap quickly, the first stage is the cocaine stage, the honeymoon phase, the lust phase, where the dopamine floods our system. Number 2, the convert stage, where we start to suddenly see, hang on, our partner isn't there to fulfill our every expectation and to make us feel good about ourselves. So there is the convert stage, like, hang on a second, I'm not feeling like this anymore. What you're doing wrong, you need to do this and this, so I can feel this way. It's not selfish at all, is it? Number 3, the conflict stage, where suddenly there is like, hold on a second, why must I be this, and why must I be something and I'm not, and why are you being this for the other? And then it starts to escalate, and there's resentment and fights. Number 4, the commit stage, where there is where the partners decide, hang on a second, I don't want to give this all up, this is worth fighting for, not fighting about, and they decide to commit through it. And now, number 5, the co-independence stage, where we're moving towards unconditional love, and where we see everything as all the so-called negativity is a symptom of things that need to be transcended, and an opportunity for growth, contribution, and a way to expand our beingness and to reach at the next level. All right, so let's celebrate the co-independence stage, and let's finish this loop. So here goes. Stage 5, full circle. The co-independence stage.
Walked by him with a shy smile. Nothing gets said, they just stand for a while. She walked away, leaving him behind. Does the punishment seem to fit the crime? It is a shame, the song remains the same, and all the words don't rhyme time after time. The question stays, the answer is fine. Does the punishment seem to fit the crime? Na 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 na, yeah. Na 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 na
Alright, stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be looking at the flawed premise we have about love, the story we hold about it, and why we think love hurts. Love hurts. Oh, love hurts. We'll see you there.
The Big Cigar.